All right, let's go to my top 5 beatdowns in big championship games list. You ready for this? My top 5 beatdowns. Last night was a beatdown. I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. Last night was a beatdown. Last night was the kind of beatdown that, well, frankly, you just don't like to see, because I ended up watching a Bernie Madoff special that, frankly, I really didn't want to watch. Number 5, it only was 2 years ago. It was only 2 years ago. It was Tampa Bay 31, the Chiefs 9. Now, here's why I put that on there. You could go to other games in the history of the NFL, and I will. But the reason I put that on there was because it's recent, okay? But I got to tell you, when I watched that game, I remember this distinctly. There was never a time in the second half in the Super Bowl that I had set my day to that this game was interesting. There was never a time where I sat and said, I have got to see what happens on this possession. Not one time. Not one time. And here's the other reason it made it. Because you think about the 9. Patrick Mahomes, Reed, Tyreek Hill, Nicole Hardeman, whatever. They had dudes. Kelsey. Kansas City had real dudes. And yet, game was over. Game was uninteresting. I walked away. Probably went and had 72 A&W root beers, 0 sugar, and hung out. It was a mess, this game. And it was recent. 1985. The 1985 Bears are the best defense that I've ever seen and I will ever see. Buddy Ryan led the 85 Bears defense. Mike Ditka, who you see there, led the offense apparently, and those two did not mesh. Those two fought like cats and dogs. Those two did not get along. Egos were involved. Ditka did Ditka things, which is basically take every endorsement, open every restaurant, and he took it away from the players, which cost Ditka and the Bears future championships. Buddy Ryan had that Southern old man thing where he was always jabbing, he's always in there jabbing, and he was always talking bad about Ditka and all that kind of stuff. And Buddy Ryan did a thing that every coach aspires to. He literally had players that would go and take a bullet for him. You see this picture of Mike Ditka. There's also a picture of Buddy Ryan somewhere being held up by the defense, being held up by his guys, Hampton and McMichael. That might be McMichael in there. Singletary, Plank, and Fensick, and Richard Dent, and Wilbur Marshall, and Otis the Rope. I mean, you had dudes on that team that were real dudes. So they play the Patriots, and the Patriots, I think, get off to a 7-0 lead. All right? The corner, Richardson, for the Bears, hurts himself, and he's out. It was either him or Leslie Frazier. It didn't matter. This game was over by halftime. This game, by the end of the first half, the Patriots could not get the ball and get a first down. It was a beatdown of monumental proportions. In fact, but it wasn't even the best beatdown. In the playoffs, the Bears literally, and I'm being literal here, held teams to negative yards rushing. They literally did not allow a first down. They literally took the heart and soul of the Dallas Cowboys, San Francisco 49ers, and anybody else that came into their way. I can talk about this team forever. I mean ever. And when I say ever, I mean forever. I can go word for word. I've had the chance to meet a couple of them, and they are unbelievable guys. 15-1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 Pro Bowlers. You want all pros? 10. How about that? And there was literally, and let's just be honest here, listen to these scores. New York Giants, 21-0. Los Angeles Rams, 24-0. New England Patriots, 46-10. Greatest team, most dominant defense I have ever seen. Your Chicago Bears. Next, in 1990, which I'll get to 1990 here in a little bit. In 1990, there was a Super Bowl. In that Super Bowl, the San Francisco 49ers took on the Denver Broncos. Look at the score. I remember this. I don't remember a lot, but I remember this. The Denver Broncos, came in with John Elway. They came in and they were going to be good, man. They were going to be good. They were going to get some things done. They were. Halftime score was 27-3. Halftime score was 27-3. Joe Montana and the fellas had their way with the Broncos. Now, good for the Broncos. They win a couple titles, all that kind of stuff. All Montana did was go 22-29, 300 yards, MVP, all that kind of stuff. His completion percentage was the second highest in the history of the Super Bowl, and every record almost damn near that Terry Bradshaw had set was eclipsed. It was unbelievable. Listen to this. 12 first downs to 28. That's it. That's it. 144 yards rushing for the 49ers, 64 for the other guys. 11 for 29 is all, for 103 yards, is all the passing yards John Elway et al. Could do. Now, I don't know what to tell you, but what I will tell you, 461 yards to 167. They're the only team to score 8 touchdowns in the Super Bowl. 2 touchdowns in each quarter. You can make the argument that this was number one, but it's not. I won't allow it. All right. Number 2, last night. Yeah, I know, I'm wrong. I should have made this number 1. 65-7 last night was, well, one of the biggest beatdowns I've ever seen. 65-7. The spread, you could have given me, correct me if I'm wrong, you could have given me TCU and 57. TC, give me TC. Hey, Dan, I'm going to tell you what. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do for you. I'm going to give you TCU and 57. What would you have bet? Like, what would you have put on that? I'm like, take the house, take the car, take my wife, take my kid. I'm betting everything because we're going to get fat. Well, you'd have lost. The line was 63.5, at least last I saw. One team covered the 63.5 right there. Man, you can make the argument it's the biggest beatdown ever. You can make the argument that Stetson Bennett went all Gale Sayers against the 49ers back in Wrigley Field and scored 6 touchdowns. It was a beatdown. It made people go have sex. It made people go eat. It made me turn on a Madoff show. It was a beatdown, and it probably was the biggest, but not to me. No. I was there. It was 1990. It was in McNichols Arena. It was the NCAA championship game. And I'm going to give you one reason why UNLV's 30-point beatdown of Duke was the biggest rout that I have ever seen. And here's the reason. In my time coaching, playing, announcing basketball, I have never seen, not one time, except for in this game, in the middle of the game, a player, in this case Bobby Hurley, currently the coach at Arizona State, have to run off the bench / court because he was crapping himself. That's right. He was crapping himself. Now look, you got to understand, I've been around basketball since 5th grade. Let's say you're 11 in 5th grade, 10? So that's 1972. I've been around basketball. I've watched basketball. I've played basketball. I coached basketball. I announced basketball. Never seen a guy crap himself. Never seen a guy run off the court and crap himself. I'm watching this game, and I could not believe what I was seeing. The opportunity for Duke to get a basket only came after the game was pretty much a rout. That's right. I'm saying the opportunity to get a basket was when the game was over. Now you're going to say, what are you talking about? No, I'm not. I'm going to tell you that's exactly the way it was. They, Duke, had pros. They, Duke, could not score. They, Duke, could not get a good shot. They, Duke, came back the next year and beat them. They did. They beat them. They beat UNLV the next year. All right, great. But in this game, I got to tell you, Christian Laettner, Bobby Hurley, Thomas Hill, all the fellas got the absolute dog kicked out of them. And to me, it was one of those deals where it was only a 12-point game at half, but it might as well have been 50. Now, I'm not saying this should be number one. I'm saying a guy crapped himself, and I was there. And this one had no chance. All right, that's mine. Let me know yours. Go to Twitter, @Don'tAtMe. Go to our YouTube chat. There's a lot of them. Look, there really is. When you look at the history of the Super Bowl, you're like, wow, I didn't realize so many teams got their brains beat out. I've always thought going back that Super Bowls, number one, didn't have many points scored. And number two, like, wow. All right. I'll tell you something else about 1990. I think it was either 90 or 87. The word on the street, UNLV had the most beautiful cheerleaders. I mean, unbelievable. And the word on the street was they got dancing girls from Vegas shows. In fact, Sports Illustrated just devoted a whole section to one of the girls at UNLV. Yeah, it was unbelievable.